Welcome to the show Gold Squadron Gays. It's the podcast where two Star Wars loving gays talk about and review their favorite Star Wars content while also being gay as hell. I'm your host, Bradley Brower.
I'm your other host, Charles Rogers, and while Patrick, I do understand thirsting after a straight boy, some of the things you are doing are absolutely insane, which, I will say, does make you perfect twink representation. Every time he does something that I'm like, Patrick, I just want to slap the shit out of you right now, because I know so many people who have done this level of delusional, insane bullshit. Anyway, I've been watching Elite Season 5, Bradley.
I can't even say anything to what you just said
I know.
without spoiling anything. So
I know. I suspect it gets crazier. Patrick is the most interesting character. Cayetana is still my favorite character. Do you know what? Something else that I was wondering too, and I told you about this when I started watching the 5th season of Elite. And I literally texted you this, not once, not twice, but I'm pretty sure 3 times. Where are the fucking adults in this show? Because seasons 1 through 3, the kids' parents were like major characters in the show. Where have all of the adults gone? Because some of the adults that should be involved in the plot of season 5 would be burning down the fucking building if they knew what was happening in there.
we don't want adults in any content that we watch ever again.
Adults showing up in the plot would simply ruin it for everyone. And speaking of shows in which adults being in the plot would solve the plot way too quickly, that's why I opened with the Elite bit, Bradley. I was going to segue us
Clever.
into. I like to give people occasionally a taste of us talking about other things that aren't Star Wars. But I have now transitioned us into what is this random episode that we're recording out of sequence on a Wednesday going to be about?
Well, we're talking about the upcoming new show for Star Wars called Skeleton Crew.
Yep,
And
that's the show.
That's it. And the reason why we're recording it now is because the people who are listening to this episode are listening to it the day it's airing.
Yes, you can have watched the show and then come to your podcast feed to find out how wrong I am about everything I'm about to say.
I was going to say, yeah, well, I guess technically, so this will come out around 7 a.m. Eastern time. So I don't think Skeleton Crew will go live on Disney Plus until probably 8 or 9 Eastern time.
That's true.
I didn't think about that.
That's true.
Because it'll be on Monday. I just don't know what time.
You could be listening to this the morning before Skeleton
That's right,
Crew
to prepare
comes
yourself.
Out. Exciting. Ooh. I am actually excited for this show.
I am too. It's really cute. You know what's funny is before today, I genuinely didn't really watch any of the trailers. I didn't watch any of the featurettes. I haven't really delved into it because we've been so busy with other stuff, and I've been busy with other stuff, and we just haven't had time to like soak in like Skeleton Crew's coming. Like we're about to watch it. Like we're covering Acolyte right now. We're not really focused on it, so we're just kind of like
audience.
It's a bonus at this point.
Audience, his Funkos are gone. He's got like a blank wall behind him right now. It's so fucking distracting. You have no idea. Yeah, and we've been very focused on the Acolyte because that's what we've been covering on the show, and both of us have had things go on in our real lives. And I also feel like, to a degree, to me, there's been diminishing returns on the hype for Star Wars shows, which it's kind of good that they've started to slow down, because I think if Skeleton Crew had dropped, like they'd immediately started promoting it right after the Acolyte, I would have been like, God, another one. God, here we go, another one. Like, it was just too many in a row, and I think that what Skeleton Crew did wisely was give itself some distance from the last one and drop a little bit of marketing here and there to kind of get us excited about it, and gradually kind of sold me on this show. And I think I'm going into it with much more of a level of excitement than I've gone into a Disney Plus show in a very, very long time. And I think it is that gap that's let it marinate, and we've had other content, and we've had, I promise I will get to the Mace Windu book at some point. I promise. I promise. There are several listeners that have asked me about the Mace Windu book. I will get to it, but let that marinate. And so, yeah, I've watched about half the trailers for it. I'm pretty sold on it, but I'll tell you, it was funny. I was in the room when it was announced.
Right.
Yeah. So I was there, and I remember thinking at the time, this is gonna sound terrible. I remember thinking at the time, oh my fucking god, not more Mandoverse shit. Oh my god. Because at the time I was starting to get a little tired of it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
This was before they announced Heir to the Empire. So this is before we knew that the Mandoverse was going to have a definitive ending. My first reaction was, oh god, not more Mandoverse. My second reaction was, wait, how is this even going to fit? This seems so weird.
It's so random.
It seems weirdly placed. But I liked the pitch. I liked Goonies in space. I liked E.T. in space. We'll see. And then the first trailer came out, the one with the suburbs that everybody got mad about. That was a moment I was like, oh, I'm actually seated for this. This looks good.
I want to bring up the suburbs later, but I have a theory about that, which is crazy.
Okay.
So, but I did want to talk about real quick because you bring up a good point. So I watched one of the YouTube videos, which was called the Filmmaker Roundtable, which had John Watts and who's the creator of the show, and then a couple of the directors and producers for the show were in this little like roundtables, including Bryce Dallas Howard. She was there.
Bryce Dallas Howard's back, baby.
Love her.
Star Wars
so
one of
she's
the
like
best
the
TV
golden
directors
child, I guess, of Star Wars TV.
I mean, she kind of is. Like, unquestioningly, every episode she's directed has been directed really well.
I'm very excited, and she made a really good point in her like perspective. Basically, she was saying like, you know, when you come into a show like this, which has a very particular vibe, like she's like, you can't necessarily like come in and like just do your own creative direction with this. She's like, you kind of have to match the vibe of everybody else. So the fact that she said that makes me think like, okay, so she gets it. Like she just understands the assignment coming in. Yeah.
Like, it's funny to me that has to be explained because historically I've just been like, I mean, yeah, that's how TV shows work. Up to the streaming era, that's how they've worked.
Unfortunately, some people need to be taught.
It does give me hope, because I haven't watched the Filmmaker Roundtable, but it does give me hope to hear that with the show remaining consistent all the way through.
Exactly.
That's something that I'm eager to see if they will pull off, because it's kind of been hit and miss with broadly all the Disney Plus shows. All of them, not just Star Wars, have kind of had a thing where, well, just because the first 2 episodes or 3 episodes are good doesn't mean the show's gonna stay good the whole time.
Right.
And one thing that I think it looks like Skeleton Crew has, based on what I've seen, is a very strong, clear vision all the way through of what the show wants to be. Like, I watched the trailer and I went, yes, this show has a clear narrative voice that is distinct from the Star Wars that we have seen before.
Correct. And they said they kept using this term when they were talking about it, the perspective or like the vibe of the show. And they kept saying it's an Amblin adventure.
Yes.
That's what they kept using, which for those who don't know is the production company that made E.T., Goonies, Back to the Future, all those. So that's like the vibiness of this. It's very 80s. It's very like they actually brought up a good point, which was he said that some people will like compare it to like Stranger Things, I think.
I was going to say, didn't they pitch this as Stranger Things in space?
But then the director turned that around and he's like, well, it's not, because he explicitly says in like this like interview that I was watching, he's like, the show is not about the kids. The kids are just in the show. And I thought that's a weird phrasing.
That was something I was going to bring up, is that I remember seeing like an article. I'm not going to say the sentence about that was in the article, but there was an article that had a sentence that was removed after publication. And it was like a fairly major plot point that was revealed in this article that was then removed. That and the fact that they have also said that the adults that we see in the trailer are in the show. That also is part of what's getting me excited, because looking at like the trailers and looking at the poster and everything for this show, the adults do feature on there. Now, it's primarily the kids are front and center, but it's not like we're going to leave the adults behind in episode 1 and they're never going to turn up again. I made a joke about Elite forgetting all of its adults. I'm hoping the show does not make that same mistake, and it seems like it's not going to.
I've seen a few things. So like when I was doing my little mini research for the show, obviously I think there's 3 main adults that we're kind of focused in on. One of the main kids' dad is one of them. One of the main kids' mom is one of them. So I think she's like a teacher and he's like just a dad. I don't know what he does in the
I
but yeah.
love the outfit they have this teacher in, by the way. I fucking love the costumes in this show, look so good.
There's something about the adventureness aspect of these two. Like they're just adventure-y. Like I can't explain it. Like it's very much that.
Who's the third adult?
The third adult
Bradley?
is
Can we
Jude.
talk
It's Jude
talk
Law.
about him? It's Jude Law. It's
um,
Jude Law.
which we'll get more into him, I'm sure, when we actually get into the show. But again, I want to bring up something about Jude Law, which is also really interesting, which feeds into one of my theories about the show, by the way.
Okay.
So very explicitly in the trailer, there's or one of the trailers, there's a part where Key is floating over to like a prison cell where the kids are being held, and Jude Law is in the
Sure.
prison cell with them. And the main kid is like, "Oh, you're a Jedi." And so like that like blows open the whole thing, right? Right here, right now, I'm gonna say he's definitely not a Jedi.
I was waiting for you to be the one to say it because I knew
Okay.
you wanted to be, but I wholeheartedly agree.
Yeah,
I
definitely
think
not.
some whack fuck shit is going on with this character.
I low key think that Jude Law is actually going to end up being the villain of the show as a
Ooh,
whole. Not
That's
like
interesting.
like it's have you ever seen Treasure Planet?
I'm figuring out a way to try to explain that that's a stupid question without
I know,
explaining.
but you get what I'm
I'm
trying to say.
34. I've seen Treasure Planet. It was coming out right at the right time for me to. Yes. I have also seen Muppet Treasure Island, and I've also read Treasure Island. Hilarious that you would default to Treasure Planet, right? When Muppet Treasure Island is right there.
You know, it's something about Treasure Planet just unlocks something in me. So I feel like that's the default setting for me.
I mean, I mean, the reason I chastised you earlier for asking me if I had seen Treasure Planet was I think we had similar experiences with the movie as kids.
So the reason why I do default to Treasure Planet, one, because it's obviously space themed, right? And pirates and all that good stuff. I think Jude Law is going to play a character very similar to the John Silver character.
Long John Silver, yeah.
Right. Which the arc of that character, for those who aren't familiar, in both Treasure Island, Treasure
Spoilers,
Planet, all of
spoilers, major fucking spoilers for Treasure Island and every adaptation of Treasure Island,
Correct.
by the way. If for some reason you don't know the plot of Treasure Island and you want and our discussion of Treasure Planet has made you interested, skip ahead about 30 seconds because Bradley's about to spoil the major plot twist of Treasure Island.
So yeah, so basically he's nice to the main character. They kind of become buddy, almost like a father figure, right? I feel like a similar situation is going to be happening here. Jude Law's character is going to be this kind of like adult, fun, adventurous father figure to these kids. However, we come to find out that he's actually self-serving and is only into helping himself for treasure or whatever the thing is that they're all trying to get at some point in this show, right? Because we haven't really talked about the plot, but I'm assuming they're going to try to find some fucking treasure or
they're
some
trying
bullshit, right?
they're hopping around between planets on this ship. Also, this is the character that is played by Tim Curry in the Muppets Treasure Island movie.
So my point to all that is to say, I think his character arc right now, I can tell you, is going to be, he's going to seem good in the beginning. He's going to turn and be like, oh, just kidding, I'm evil / I'm self-serving. And then he's going to have to, spoiler alert for End of Treasure Island, give up the treasure for the kids / to save their life bullshit, right? Which is usually how this thing goes because, of course, people's lives are more important than treasure. But I don't know. I that's just my theory of how like his arc is going to go. You know what? They could completely change it, and it does have nothing to do with any of that, obviously. I'm just guessing.
Pirates are a big theme of this because one of the villains is Vane, who's the pirate who fucks off in like episode 5 or 5, I think it's 5, who just kind of fucks off in the middle of episode 5 of season 3 of The Mandalorian. And then we've gotten some other images of things like members of his crew. One of them is the Wolfman from A New Hope, which is great. The kids also have, correct me if I'm wrong on this, Bradley, like a robot pirate named Smee, who's voiced by, I think, Nick Frost.
I don't know. We'll have to do a real deep dive in once they actually, because I didn't actually.
I'm Googling this right now. Skeleton Crew cast. Yes, it's SM33 is being voiced by Nick Frost.
Okay.
Yes, which is delightful.
I mean, it's going to be good.
It's
I
gonna
hate
be
to
good.
say that like this early on because we obviously don't know anything and we haven't seen anything. So I don't want to be like, oh my God, it's gonna be good. I think it's gonna be fun. I think it's gonna be just an easy, fun adventure that just happens to be during Mandoverse time, New Republic, era. My only caveat is I think people were like you said, I'll bringing it all the way back to what you
Bringing it
said
back
about
around
right to the first
like
trailer
a
where
cul-de-sac in a suburb.
in a
We're
suburb,
bringing
right?
it back around to the beginning of what I said.
Bringing it back to the suburbs, there's something suspicious about the suburbs. And I think people were too quick to be like, ew, it looks like Earth. Ew, it's suburbs and space. And I think to a point, it is supposed to be that. I think it's like with the speeder bikes and
Those are so cute, by the
the
way.
cars and everything, right? Like it's supposed to seem like that on the surface. I think there's something more sinister going on here because again, you have to remember this is Star Wars and also this is during the New Republic era. So they haven't quite ironed out all the kinks yet, right? So we don't know what this is. We have no idea what this means. This could be super nefarious. Like I have an idea that I mean, why is there a buried pirate ship in the middle of the woods on this planet where this perfect idyllic neighborhood safe looking place is?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
add up,
These are good
right?
questions. Are you familiar with the Stepford Wives?
Yes.
Okay. So that was immediately what I thought of,
Oh yeah.
just as the perfect example of this kind of recurring trope in media where something is used as shorthand for something, a place being a little too perfect. And it does tend to be the suburbs.
I
Like,
like it.
the suburbs seem so perfect and everything is maintained. Fucking WandaVision did the same thing. Like,
You're
kind
right.
of.
That's kind of exactly what they did.
Kind of. The uncanniness, the suburbs are incredibly uncanny. Like, especially since everything is so uniform. I lived in a suburb like this when I was in middle and high school. Like, it was a newer suburb. The HOA was more like tightly controlled over everything, so there wasn't a lot of variety. A lot of the trees hadn't had a chance to grow yet, so it was really open. So it was basically like variations of the same 5 houses in different shades of tan and brick, stamped down like it's fucking the Sim City or some shit down, right? And it can be uncanny. And I also agree there's shots in the trailers and then there's other stuff that makes me think that like, no, there's some bigger conspiracy here that's going on.
Oh, for sure.
But I also think that Star Wars fans in general are very quick to dismiss things out of hand that don't fit their personal vision for what Star Wars should be, which is, depending on who you ask, either just the main movies and nothing, the first 6 movies and nothing else, or the first 3 movies and nothing else, or about 6 books from Legends and 1 video game. And I'm like, no, Star Wars, why would they not have suburbs? Like, why would they not have space version of this? I don't understand why this is becoming as much of an issue as it's becoming, but it became as much of an issue as it's becoming. Also, this is deliberately a nod to the suburban kids go on an adventure genre
right.
from the 80s and early 90s. A prerequisite of that story is the boring suburb that they have to leave. Why would we do something fantastical to do that? It needs to invoke or I don't know. My life has become immeasurably better since I stopped going onto Twitter. Since I switched over to posting on BlueSky.
I think most people's lives are
I will say, if you have made the move from Twitter to BlueSky, your life probably has gotten better. Mine definitely has. And who knows how long BlueSky will last? I didn't like Threads very much. I basically stopped posting on Threads because I'm like, I hate this algorithm and it's bad. But one of the nice things about being on BlueSky is I don't have to see these fucking stupid takes anymore.
I love it, honestly.
It's very nice. It's very peaceful.
It's kind of like switching slight gears. There's one thing I didn't notice at first, but I found this out later. I just watched all the trailers, right?
Good for you. I
So
have a job, so I couldn't do that this morning.
go back and watch the second trailer, I believe. It's the most current trailer. You don't have to do it now, but
Okay, I was literally about to
no,
go
no,
do
no,
it
no.
now.
You can do it on your own time. But I just want everybody at home to go rewatch the second trailer because one of the first things I noticed in this trailer was they used quote unquote recognizable or actual music, right?
Oh yeah, that was a thing.
Yeah. And I thought, okay, that's weird, right? They're using real music in Star Wars. That's odd. Turns out, kind of, because it
Okay,
is a cover of a song. It is not
okay,
an actual song. Now, the song that they are covering, I mean, it is a real song. The song is called Major Tom, parentheses,
okay.
Coming Home by Peter Schilling. Here's the thing. The song originally was released in English and then in German because I think the singer or whatever is German. So they released the song in both English and German. Guess what language the trailer version is?
Is it Huttese?
It is Huttese.
Wow, amazing.
Is that not the craziest thing? Like, I don't think they've ever done this in Star Wars where they've taken a real
I
song and Huttesed
think
it.
this might be new. This
Uh,
might be a new development.
this is hilarious. This is
Well,
amazing,
because
honestly.
Star Wars has never cared that much about the accuracy of its language. Like, it's not like Klingon, where somebody, James Doohan mainly, actually came up with the language. Huttese has been just generally throw stuff at the wall, so it's kind of crazy that they had an actual song in Huttese. God, the marketing for this show has been so fucking good.
So amazing. And the
It's
fact that
so fucking good.
someone had to take the time to translate this song in Huttese is actually hilarious. Now, there's not like a lot of words, like because most of it's counting, and then I think the main bit is just they're just words, right? They're like singular words is like the how the lyrics go. But I just find that so fascinating that someone sat there and translated all these words. And you can look this up because if you go on YouTube, you can look at the transcript of the video and it has all the words in Huttese like written out. So you can just look up what all the words are and just see if they translate correctly.
I
This is
love when
great.
Star Wars nerds make Star Wars things.
I love it.
That's my favorite. That's my absolute favorite is when a Star Wars nerd makes a Star Wars thing.
And then you already brought up the pirates. You brought up Vane coming. I'm trying to think if there's any other
Guys,
like,
we found him. We found him from where he
Find out where he
fucked
went.
off in Mandalorian.
That's right.
I just
Do we know
forgot
that
to
that's what
be in the last
did
couple
we
of
know anything
episodes.
about that? Or did he just fuck off? Like
He just fucked off.
and we were like, why did he do that?
We were like, well, we knew he was going to be in Skeleton Crew at the time, so we
Oh,
talked about that he just fucked off to be in Skeleton Crew.
got it. Well, there you go.
He said I'm
Yeah.
taking a bigger paycheck. I've got a new opportunity. This is my 2-second notice. Fuck you, Moss guy whose name I've forgotten. Gorian Shand.
That's right.
Gorian Shard.
Who RIP
I thought,
is gone.
R.I.P.
Gone
R.I.P.
too soon.
to Pirate Moss Man. I literally was just listening to the J Guys and Jedi episode a couple of weeks ago on this, so I feel bad I do not remember the name of the pirate.
The only other thing about the pirates, that's right. I did want to bring up these other two pirates. So you brought up the Wolfman pirate, which his name is Brutus, I think, which
Is it just me, or is I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say it because one of
Uh-huh.
us has to say it on the air. Is Wolfman Pirate like kind of hot? Like just
I
a
don't-
little bit?
I don't want to get too into this. You already went too into Minnie just into his arms last week, so I don't know if I want to get too into furry territory with this, but
I mean, look, I'm not saying anything definitively on the show yet.
if we
I'm
get
just seeding
gratuitous
out there.
Wolfman abs in the first episode,
If I get gratuitous Wolfman arms, look, it's Star Wars. It doesn't count, Bradley.
that's so true. You're right.
Look, I'm saying the High Republic has taught me some things about myself as a person. Did I need to know these things? No, but they're information that I now possess. And all I'm saying is if Wolfman wants to buy me a drink, I'll hear him out.
Wolfman was the only one of the pirates that I wanted to mention. There was one more in the trailer that we'll get way more into when they actually show up in the show, but it's a quick blink and you miss it moment. One of the pirates next to Brutus is Jaleel White,
Yes.
who you may or may not know as playing Steve Urkel in Family Matters. What are you doing here? This is amazing. Jaleel, why are you here?
amazing casting. Like,
What is happening on this show? Like, I need to know. It's so great.
Brilliance is happening on this show. Also, do you think he just like disappeared after Family Matters? Like,
I mean, well, we'll have to get into what he's done
we'll get
since
into
then when
it
we get,
when we
doing more of
cover
a
it
deep
on
dive
the
of his
show.
career. But
See, on the one hand, I love doing these episode zeros because I don't have to do shit. I literally clocked out of work, spun around at my desk, and like started the meeting to record this episode. But on the other hand, it's crazy because we don't get to get into anything. We just talk about our opinions.
I mean, I love our opinions, but I also
I love
speaking
my
of opinions. This actually is a good segue. So
Okay.
speaking of opinions, we we have to just briefly talk about the elephant boy in the room. And the elephant boy in the room, people had opinions when the first trailer came out that
With
this
his
was supposed to
little
be
overalls, like so cute.
yes, he is
Neil
not
is one of my favorite characters immediately from this show.
I will say they did such a good job for immediately. Yes.
One of my favorite characters. Yeah, people thought that Neil was the same species as Max Rebo. They are not the same species. This is a new one.
Correct.
Also, apparently not the same ones from Young Jedi Adventures either.
Oh, I wouldn't know what that one is, but
okay. Well, you haven't watched all of Young Jedi Adventures because
true.
I don't know if you've looked outside the window lately, Bradley, but everything is bad all of the time, and in fact is gearing up to continue to be bad and get worse. And Young Jedi Adventures is like injecting happiness directly into my brain through my temple. So I have watched basically every single episode of it.
And you would say that this new character is not the same species
not the same
other elephant character
as the other elephant characters in that show. Yes.
Okay.
My understanding is they are different species. Now, I could proven to be wrong in some reference book somewhere. Pablo Hidalgo, if you're listening, I'm willing to take the L on this. If you decide in a reference book somewhere that they're the same species, I don't know. They haven't announced what Neil's species is yet.
Right. And we might find out in the show where they'll explicitly be like, you are a blank.
There are a lot of aliens in this show.
I do like that. It's definitely giving a refreshing, we're finally doing aliens again in Star Wars vibe.
I'm hoping that they will achieve the balance because I feel like Mandalorian was too human-centric.
Yep.
And Acolyte had a lot of unnecessary practical effect aliens that could have saved them on their budget a great deal. I'm hoping Skeleton Crew will hit that middle ground where, because it's kind of going back to the Acolyte was trying to do like how the prequels did it. And I'm hoping that Skeleton Crew will lean kind of more towards A New Hope, which it seems like they are with the design of the pirates and how everything is set up. But I am excited to see a lot of different weird new aliens in this show. I love when Star Wars is new weird aliens. People get mad at the sequel trilogy for like not using any of like the old aliens. I actually like that more. I like seeing new weird aliens.
I do too. And I don't mind that, like, I think people were mad that it's not Max Rebo's species. I'm like, Max Rebo, like, only has feet for hands. So how the fuck would that work?
People are mad about everything all the time, Bradley. They're gonna be mad. They're mad when there is Star Wars. They're mad when there's no Star Wars. They are mad at Star Wars for being too for kids, and they are mad at Star Wars for being too for adults. They are mad that the alien blinked, and they are mad that the alien didn't blink. It doesn't fucking matter. If a Star Wars thing exists, and someone will be mad about it on the internet. And unfortunately, because Star Wars has become the unfortunate linchpin in part of these stupid online culture wars, we have to sit through incredibly stupid, horrendous takes from grifters making a fuck ton of money for no reason, being whiny little bitches on the internet to an audience of ravenous, screaming fans who will parrot everything they say in the TikTok comments of my friends' videos. And also the bots, presumably, that are also propping their content up. So at least on some social media sites. So that people are going to be mad, and I have long learned to tune out the stupidity of some of these.
Like, it's a blue elephant kid.
It is a
like,
blue
relax.
elephant man.
Oh, speaking of,
Bradley,
I think we brought this up.
bricks, and zippers. Bradley, they were mad about the existence of bricks, and they were mad about the existence of motherfucking zippers. A birthday from a CD-ROM. This is all stupid. This is all so painfully stupid that it keeps me up at night.
I did want to bring up one slight thing, which was I don't know when we talked about this. We talked about if the motion capture actor or whatever was a kid or not. In the actual trailer that I saw,
Reveal it?
in like one of the in that featurette one, you can clearly see it's a child. And he just wears the thing on his head, which there's also a unrefined version, like where there's obviously no CGI on it. He does have a screen in between his eyes, so he can see.
That's really clever.
So he can actually see perfectly fine in the helmet. It's like it's some kind of face helmet thing. Yes, they do CGI it, obviously, to make him, emote and probably do more expressions, but for the most part it's practical. So I thought that was really interesting. Now we'll get into, obviously I don't know who's playing Neil right now, but because I didn't do that kind of research, but that's because I was saving it for our actual episode. But
yeah, we'll get more into the cast when we get into the cast,
right? But I just thought that was
and I do
really
have to say, for the record, I've said it before, I'll say it again. Leave these goddamn kids alone. Like, nobody who's listening to this show is the type of person who's going to go bully a child on the internet for being in a Star Wars. But if you are considering bullying a child on the internet because they're in a Star Wars, consider instead walking out into oncoming traffic. I'm just saying.
Right.
No, we're gearing up for that. We're already kind of starting to see it, and God, I am not looking forward to that bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, they're like literally the premise. I don't know how old the actual kids are, but the premise is that the kids in the show are 10 years old. So
yeah,
let's think about that before we type.
Let's leave them alone.
Right.
Let's think about things before we go type them on the internet.
Right.
You motherfuckers can't be trusted with adults. I saw what the fuck happened around Obi-Wan Kenobi and the Acolyte.
Right.
Y'all motherfuckers can't stay away from these children. No. Please. Fuck off forever into a hole and never emerge. Anyway, Bradley, you got anything else about this show?
I'm trying to think, like, what's like a
cover?
Oh, here we go. This is what we always tend to do towards the end of our episodes.
Okay.
Because we don't really know a lot about the plot, I can't really be like, hey, what's your wildest theory or whatever, but like, what is your like left field, maybe cameo character that'll show up in this show?
I've got an insane one. Are you ready? Are you ready for my cameo prediction? There will not be a single cameo of a character that we have previously seen before in this show.
That is a left field.
Now we know a certain character's ship shows up in one of the trailers. So we already know that we see his ship. I don't think we will see a single character that we have seen before in this show. And my hottest take is I would kind of prefer it that way. I would like Star Wars shows to be able to stand on their own without a single cameo in them at all. That's my wildest thing. But if certain people show up, I'm not going to be mad. I'm probably going to love it. But where I am right now is I don't think there's going to be a single one. I don't think there's going to be any offhand references to something else. I don't think there's going to be, like, the Mandalorian isn't going to show up with Grogu.
Oh, really?
I know you had an interesting theory about a character from Ahsoka showing up, so I'm going to kick the ball over to you. But that's mine, is that nobody shows up in this show.
I can't believe I'm going to have to say this. You have to refresh my memory of what I thought.
We had discussed the possibility of Jason.
Oh, Jason Syndulla
showing up.
I did. That is my left field theory, but here's the thing. I'm thinking this takes place either congruently with Ahsoka or right after Ahsoka. So because Jason is young and with Hera at the moment, I don't think that Hera's going to show up. I just don't think that it's going to cross that path. So I rescind my guess that Jason Syndulla will show up. I'm more leaning towards Hondo showing up as my obvious choice.
I will say, if somebody shows up, it will probably be Hondo, and I won't be that mad if Hondo shows up in this show.
I don't think I would be mad either.
I
Because
wouldn't
it
be.
just seems appropriate.
That one wouldn't be distracting to me. This is the thing, right? This is my issue. When characters show up and they make the galaxy feel smaller, there's two issues I have with cameos most of the time. It either makes the galaxy feel smaller, or it pulls focus away from whoever the show is about. It pulls focus to whoever the cameo is for.
Agree.
Hondo, I think, could get away with this. Hondo is just the type of character who is gonna suck the energy out of a room to himself, but he's also gonna elevate everybody around him by their reaction to him. Note the fact that he is both a major character in Clone Wars and Rebels and kind of really works both places.
Yeah, and I feel like if you're gonna do pirate, why would you not include him?
He's the one I would be the least distracted if he showed up.
Right, because it makes the most sense for him to show up.
If you're gonna put somebody in your show, it has to elevate everybody around them.
Right, because I can't even think of a distracting cameo, but like it would be like, I don't know. It doesn't really make sense.
A little bit. I
guess if Luke showed up in this show, it would be fucking weird.
Luke Skywalker in The Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett sucked all the air out of the room, and brought it to himself. To a degree. Ahsoka, maybe to a degree in her episode. If her episode had not been handled as well as it was,
right,
I think that it would have gone that direction.
I think like a fun one, okay, this would be too distracting, and I don't think they should do this. However, if we're going to stick with the whole pirates and, people who are, I don't know, the word you would use, scoundrelly, I think it would be distracting. If they could figure out a way to do it and it wasn't distracting, I think Han Solo showing up would be interesting.
I think he would suck too much air out of the room.
But that's my problem is original trilogy people, we love them. I don't love them in my new Star Wars as much because I feel like it's too much. It's giving fanboys too much service. It's giving them too much of what they love. So
I liked how Ahsoka did it. I like how Ahsoka had, yes, there's Mon Mothma from the original trilogy, but it's being played by the prequel actress and the Andor actress. That's fine. C-3PO is here, but he's just like a bit part.
Right.
Leia Organa's mentioned off screen. She's involved in the plot of Andor. I liked how Andor kind of incorporated some of these elements in, but also Ahsoka's one step removed and Hera's one step removed from these guys already.
Right.
So I don't know. We'll have to see, won't we? Because we're coming up on the end of the allotted recording time we had for ourselves.
Exactly. And so you'll know tonight when you watch the first two episodes, which are going to be on Disney Plus tonight. So, or if you were lucky enough, you went to the select theaters across the United States and are watching it in the theaters today before it's on Disney Plus.
Which I didn't this time because I don't have the PTO to take the necessary time off work because the way they do their ticket reservations is really stupid.
Yeah, I didn't quite understand how it worked, and even if I went, I would have.
We did it for the Acolyte. We did it for the Acolyte. It was very dumb. We reserved our tickets, and then we had to show up, and then we had to stand in line for 4 hours anyway.
See, that makes no sense. So please, Star Wars, if you decide to keep doing this, just make the however many seats the theater has as the amount of tickets you sell.
Yeah, make it so I can just reserve a ticket.
Yeah,
make it so I can reserve a ticket, and
if somebody's in a standby line,
30 minutes. Yeah, if I get there 30 minutes before the thing starts and I get a terrible seat, that's on me.
Right.
That's between me and the will of the Force. Right? Don't make me come stand. Anyway, we don't have time. We don't even get time to get into how they handle their fan screening events. Anyway, I'm really looking forward to this show. I think it is going to be fun, and I am excited to watch it.
I agree.
And run the socials, I guess.
Oh, you want to run the socials? You don't want to plug your book or your podcast or your...
Oh, fuck. I've literally stopped backup recording.
You can keep going. I'm still recording.
Okay. I am so bad at podcasting. Yes, obviously, this was a short episode, but very quick things at the end. Bradley has TV shows that he works on, like Married to Medicine, Season 11. We will talk more about that one and the bullshit that he pulled on me with that one on our next episode of The Acolyte. I am on the TTRPG podcast for Light and Dice, and I also write gay books. You can go to any of my social media at CWRogers6. I have links to them there because I'm trying to rush through this. And we're also on BlueSky now, not on Twitter anymore. And that's at Gold Squadron Gaze. Now you can run the socials, Bradley. Thank you for listening to this episode of Gold Squadron Gaze. Did Charles fuck something up? Email us at goldsquadrongaze@gmail.com to let us know. And you can find us on TikTok and Instagram at Gold Squadron Gaze. You can also find us on YouTube at our Gold Squadron Gaze YouTube channel, where we post full episodes of this show. Finally, if you liked the show, don't forget to rate us and give us a review on your favorite podcast platform. That allows other people to find our show. As always, thank you for listening to Gold Squadron Gaze, and we'll see you next week. Honestly, my backup audio is more of like a, hey, here's how long you've been yammering on. You need to shut the fuck up timer. I'm like Darth Maul wandering. You know that episode of Rebels where he's like wandering around through the desert screaming Kenobi's name? That's me trying to find the fucking point in anything I say.